Hello everyone. So today I'm going to be guiding you through a few new features we've added into the latest version of SpotMap MS, our automated LC-MS based host cell protein analysis software, based directly on feedback from industry and from our customers and partners and generally the people that we interact with that are doing this on a day-to-day basis. And if you're watching this, you probably are someone that's going to be doing this on a day-to-day basis. So this will be based on best practice, I guess, or at least the average of the people that we speak to. So a lot of the feedback we had about SpotMap MS was about the fact that we cast a very wide net. Now, versus other kind of LCMS based analysis software, we do cast a very wide net because host cell proteins present a unique problem in that they can be present in incredibly small amounts but still be very dangerous or very risky to either your drug product or to the people that the drugs are going to end up in. So we set the net very wide, and even if there's a hint of the potential of a host cell protein within your trace, we kind of flag it and mark it as present. Now, a lot of the feedback we were getting from people was that because it's so difficult to distinguish these very low levels of host cell proteins versus kind of your typical background noise, they would only accept a true positive if the host cell protein was present in at least 2 out of 3 of their traces of their triplicate run sample. So we wanted to build that into the software to be able to cope with that workflow. So our initial attempt was obviously to have our eRel quant shown visually in these columns. So you can quickly see, where the host cell protein has been detected as present. So this example, this histone H4, it's been detected in a much greater quantity in trace 1 than 2 or 3. But what we were also doing is showing kind of columns, very, very small columns like this one, even when the result was 0 or not quantifiable. We've removed that now, so it's even more visually obvious if one host cell protein is detected in 2 traces, but not the third, for example, here. So we've built that into our workflow to allow users to only focus on the host cell proteins that they would deem present. So not a false positive, a true positive. But we can go even further than that with the latest version of SpotMap MS. So we've got the ability to include these filters. Now, what I was mentioning before, whereby we would show host cell proteins as present even if we weren't able to quantify the amount that they were present, aka we were kind of taking the very low signals that may have been noise, may have not been noise, and showing that as a measurement. We can turn that off now. Now, again, it's a unique problem. Host cell proteins in LCMS, they can be present in incredibly small amounts and still pose a risk. So that's why we did quantify them in the beginning, because we wanted to be very upfront with users and say, look, this may potentially be in your sample, even if it's a very, even if it's a very rare chance, or even if it's a very small amount, we think there's a chance this host cell protein might be present. And then it would be on the user to kind of determine whether that host cell protein was something that they cared a lot about, because obviously some host cell proteins have no identified risk with them, and some have very high risk to drug product and drug stability, and then it would be on the user. But we can turn that off, so we can any kind of any kind of host cell protein that we're unable to quantify, we can just kind of get rid of if we have no values for it. What we can also do is we can automatically filter this list based on if a protein is present in at least, so equal to or greater than 1 trace, 2 traces, 3 traces. And we can add more to this if you have a unique workflow where maybe you're doing 5 samples, 5 replicates per sample, that kind of thing. But if I mark this as 2 traces, in my list now, I'll only see samples that are present in at least 2 of my traces or all 3. So I can start to narrow down my list of host cell proteins very quickly. Once you've selected the proteins that you want to add to your kind of hit list, your high risk list, or the ones that you're particularly interested in validating, then of course we can come down to our peptide inspect window and look at the different matches, the quality of them, etc., etc. I've got another video on this which goes deeper into this, so I'm not going to kind of rehash it here, but please feel free to check out the playlist full of SpotMap MS tutorials if you're interested in learning more about how we run through the different, basically every different mode of your analysis within the software. But yeah, that's just what I wanted to highlight today, that we've now got tools to make existing workflows much easier for people. So if you are using one of those workflows, we can slot SpotMap MS straight into how you're currently working without having to redesign, your SOPs, your workflow in the lab. But also to show, we are very responsive to customer feedback, and we can help build this so that we can take, the existing proteomics tools that people are using so far and really make a targeted biopharma LCMS based piece of analysis software, rather than trying to take something from the world of proteomics and force it into the shape of whole cell protein analysis. As ever, thanks for watching, thanks for listening. And if you'd be interested in trying out a copy of SpotMap MS to see how well we can automate the process of your whole cell protein analysis via LCMS, please check out the links in the description below.